As we celebrate Heroes Day and Defense Forces Day, let us take time to appreciate the sacrifices made for our freedom. Freedom to chart our own economic course.
To give us her perspective as a woman who was on the ground and telling us how it was, what motivated her as a child of the soil. Minister Mutsvangwa, thank you so much for joining us.
It is my pleasure to be here talking to the audience. I want to say hello and happy Heroes Day.
Thank you so much. Now, what motivated you to get into the struggle?
1975, 25 June, Frelimo got its independence. And that actually gave us that strength to say, if Mozambicans can do it, to get their independence from the Portuguese settlers, we can do it. It was, we call ourselves the Samora Machel generation. It was a spirit which came through the young people of this country. I was a young student at Mtambara High School in Chimanimani area. And being next to the border, we were celebrating together with the Mozambicans because, as you know, we are just right at the border. It was good. It was a good feeling. But it pushed us from inside to say, certainly, there's something we can do. And let me say, from the school where I went to, politics used to be preached in church, Methodist church. Muzorewa used to preach politics in that church. And I always used to say, what are you afraid of, you young black people of this country, to fight for what is rightfully yours? It was actually a pity that when I left finally to go to the struggle, at Chimoyo in 1977, when Mzorewa had joined Ian Smith, he actually sent soldiers to bomb the kids who he had actually inspired. It was really a pity. But we always feel that actually gave us strength. The prayers, the spiritual teachings, all that gave us strength. I left the struggle as a young girl, just doing my Form 3. And this was, I never thought about the consequences at that particular time. It was about fighting for struggle, fighting for each and every Zimbabwean to have an opportunity. We knew as little girls at secondary school, we had managed to get to secondary school thanks to our parents who were struggling then. We knew that we had very little opportunities. If you can be a teacher or maybe a nurse, that's all about it. So we felt it was important. We had heard good stories from other African countries which had gained their independence. And we wanted also to be lawyers, we wanted to be business people, we wanted to be engineers, we wanted to be pilots, we wanted to be everything in this country. And when we left, it was just with my 4 friends. We didn't have to talk a lot because we knew that if the information leaks, then we were going to be in trouble. So at lunch hour, we decided we left. We went through all the mountains where we got the energy to climb up the mountains and to walk for hours on end. You know, our feet actually got swollen because it was a lot of walking. And we also had to be careful because there was a lot of Rhodesian soldiers, especially around the borders. So we had to be very careful to watch out for where the soldiers are so that we can actually divert. We were walking towards the east because we knew that's where the border is. And we were waiting to just get to a place where we will find Frelimo soldiers, because once the Frelimo soldiers would have seen us, we knew we're in good hands, they would take us to our camps, and that's what happened. The story is long, but let me say, in the struggle was a difficult time. This was a very difficult time. It was on this particular day, Heroes Day, when we were at Nyadzonya, all waiting to celebrate the Heroes Day, that the Smith actually sent their soldiers, and they attacked us. And I don't know how we survived because we were merely refugees at that camp. We had not been trained. This was just a gathering place before you are taken to a training camp at Nyadzonya. But God is good. I'm here. I am grateful. I am alive. I mean, it wasn't a lot of others who could have been better than me today. They perished at Nyadzonya. It was difficult. I remember running, using my hands to stop the sound of the gun It was the first time in my life to feel that sound of guns. It was the first time when I saw people running in front of me, some without their heads on because they've been shot. That's the first time I knew that after being shot, even when your head is almost off, a person can continue running for a few seconds. I saw a lot of blood flowing, and how I survived, we all leave it to God and to the spirits of this country. It was a difficult time. Came to training. I went to Nyadzoni, I went to Doroi. I can't talk about the whole history, how people perished even as we were running away from the enemy. Some perished in the rivers. The Pungwe River, we lost quite a number of our own young people who perished there because the river was full and was flowing, and a lot of us didn't know how to swim. But finally, there we are. The struggle, never in the war, it was not like you're a boy, then you eat in a different kitchen, or you're a girl, you eat in another kitchen. When we didn't have food, all of us suffered. When we went a week without food, all of us suffered. And when we went for training, the training was actually planned in such a way that it was very tough because we were fighting a strong army, the Rhodesian army. So it was not like there was a special training for girls, simply because if you are not well trained, you perish. The gun will not look at you as a girl and spare you. So the training was tough, equally for men and women. And I must say, as my colleagues in the struggle, we fought side by side. And that tells you a story. In this particular country, Biananda fought the struggle. She was not only in the kitchen, but she was a war strategist. We've read a lot of stories, and we now know that she was actually at the table to plan about how to fight the settler who had come to our country. So we are saying the women of this country fought side by side with their male colleagues. When they ask for empowerment, when they ask for parity, they are not asking for charity. These are things which they fought for. Women in this country were double oppressed. They were oppressed in their families, in their communities, and when colonialism came, they were also oppressed. So when we talk about affirmative action for our women, we are only saying they are coming from far. We need to give them opportunities to compete, on an equal footing with their male colleagues. As I said, in the war, we suffered the same. When there was no food, we have no food. When there was no clothes, we had both no clothes. When we trained, we had no proper uniforms for training. We all trained in those, unfit clothing for a soldier. Both of us suffered. I remember training without even clothes. As I speak, even so many years after, if you look at my elbows, you can actually see that there's still some black marks because the training was tough, and you can actually have blisters. You will not stop, you will continue. There was no luxury to say, this one is a weakling, let's put her aside. Because unless you are really sick, otherwise every soldier had to be trained to be strong, had to be trained to be courageous, to face a very strong enemy. That's why ours was a guerrilla warfare, because we knew the Rhodesian army was much stronger than us. And there was no way, if we had not done a guerrilla training, that the guerrilla training which we had to do was critical, because we knew the enemy was stronger. They had planes, they had all the helicopters. We didn't have all that. They had superior ammunition. We didn't have that. But through the support which we had from our people in this country, that's why I say it's each and everyone in this country who fought for the struggle. As guerrillas, as comrades, we managed to convert the head boys and the head girls in the villages, our mothers, our grandmothers, our grandfathers, to convert everybody to be a soldier. Because even for the Mujibas and Chimbwidos, they had to be strong. They had to give up everything they had. They had to say, if I lose my life, it's okay. I'm losing it for each and everyone in this country. The war of this country was fought by each and everyone. And we are saying, until and only until every Zimbabwean gets an opportunity, the opportunities which we fought for. We didn't fight for positions. We fought for opportunities for each and every Zimbabwean. And we're saying up to today, as long as we have not had industrialized this country, as long as not every child who is coming out of university is getting a job, we still have a long way to go. We still have to work hard to get there. And it makes me, this day makes me, it's bittersweet.
Bittersweet memories.
I think about that attack at Nyadzonya. I think about that suffering when we had to go as women without sanitary pads. Sanitary pads was a luxury, and underwear was a luxury. I remember getting socks, these socks in the bells, which used to come from Nordic countries, who actually felt sorry for us and collected a lot of old clothes to send to our camps. You just get that, and that was good enough to be append. And think about it, you had nowhere to find, not even, I'm not talking of the sanitary pad, which we know today, but I'm talking about just the nice clothing which is soft to use as a woman. That was a luxury. And then there was a time, because of the diet which was absolutely absent, girls actually started missing their periods. Personally, I never wore a bra until I got my child. That's the only time when I could get a bra. I had to get a bra. Otherwise, a bra, even a brazier. And I'm talking about 15, 16, 17, 18-year-old girls. That was a luxury. It was nowhere to be found. The food had no salt in the diet. There was, we talk about, we had so many diseases, some of them guerrilla warfare diseases, which we knew the enemy actually had to spread. These are diseases which we have never seen, and up to now, I've never heard about them anywhere else in the country. But during the struggle, we were confronted with those kind of diseases. It was tough. The women suffered a lot. Think about it, biologically we are built differently, and to go without even going, stopping your periods and not knowing what is happening to you, whether you ever, even after the struggle, whether you'll be able to bear children, because we all know we had studied biology at school. We knew that you had to continue menstruating so that you could be able to, when you get married, finally you can have children. But when that stopped, women suffered mentally, physically, and says, will I ever be able to also, after independence, will I ever be able to have my family and have my children? But God is good. We have had our children after that.
Thank you so much.
It was a tough war.
I feel your passion.
It was a tough war.
It's obviously a bitter, sweet moment. Like you say, this day is obviously very important to you. But thank you so much for that in-depth description of your experience during the struggle.
And after the struggle, we are still talking about women empowerment. And as I said, when we ask for women empowerment, when we ask for gender parity, we are grateful to this government of Zimbabwe. Since 1980, since independence, a lot of laws have been put into place to make sure that we empower our women, to make sure that we bring our women up there. And I'm glad that a lot of effort has been put, but there's still more to be done. We are happy we have a constitution which has got a lot of provisions enshrined in it for empowerment of women, for gender parity. We have got Section 17, Section 80, Section 56 in our Constitution. It's now about making sure that there's enforcement of all those provisions enshrined. We need 50-50. It's enshrined in our Constitution, in our boards, in our institutions. Let's make sure that we bring up, after all, women are 52% in this population. No leader can leave behind 52% of its population. And women are good managers. Given an opportunity, women will make sure that they bring up their families, they bring up their communities, and they bring up their nation to a greater height. And Zimbabwe has no reason not to get to that greater height. The pedestal is there, and the support from the struggle, the support from the people of this country, who will always love peace because they saw a war. Zimbabweans, youth of this country, young people should always remember to guard jealously this independence. It didn't come easy. It didn't come easy. A lot of bloodshed was shed. So let's hold dearly. Let's never allow detractors who want this country to go back to where it was. Let's never work with them. Let's remain united. Let's be harmonious. Let's remove polarization among ourselves. Zimbabwe is for us all. One people, one nation.
Thank you so much, Minister Mutsvangwa. Very key highlights there, Marion, from the Minister of Information, Media and Broadcasting Services, telling us about her personal experiences on the ground, and most importantly also acknowledging that the current government has also made the necessary provisions to make sure that women are empowered. The Constitution has that provision for 50-50% representation. Also empowerment programs in mining, in agriculture, to try try and, upgrade the women. Minister Mutsvangwa did highlight that they're not a charity case, just like they did partake in the War of Liberation.
Side by side with their male counterparts.
Exactly. They're just asking for their equal share. And it's a call to action for women out there to take the opportunities that are being presented in the Second Republic.
Secunda Holdings. Now you can go.